What is going on? Welcome back to another video. So as you can see, the title of this video is consistency and discipline. I actually haven't made the title, but it's gonna have something to do with consistency and discipline, because that is literally the foundation, like the base brick layer for your ultimate dream life, where you have the physique, the mindset, the freedom, everything together. That all starts with being disciplined so that you can achieve the physique and the habits that will grant you that freedom later on. So I'm really going to be going over what holds most people back, and the biggest issue that I see within consistency and discipline is a lack of understanding for bigger picture and like a broader perspective of what you're actually trying to achieve. Everybody takes things at face value, focus too much on these small actions at face value, and don't understand that it's more about compounding habits and less about checking one box each day. You got to check daily boxes, weekly, and then monthly, and then that's how we get the result. As I speak, literally just practicing what I preach, got 99 lean ground turkey, and then doing some potatoes, of course weighing everything out on the scale. So if consistency and discipline are your biggest weak points, I urge you to take out a freaking pen and paper and write some stuff down and actually implement the stuff I'm talking about. Don't just like watch and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get dialed in, I'm gonna do XYZ, because that's literally the root of your downfall. Like, that is why you keep slipping up, because you're giving yourself this false sense of motivation and like inspiration that doesn't actually lead to action, which is what I talk about in this video. So yeah, sit down, really pay attention to what I'm saying. Think about how you can apply these concepts into your own life, because I do think they're very general and anybody can apply them. Your situation will look different from the next person. So let's just get right to it. Welcome to the bulk of the video, earning the ultimate version of yourself. Making a transformation both physically and mentally does not happen from the same inputs that you are currently applying in your life right now. In order to transform, in order to grow, you have to get rid of old ways, right? That's exactly how it works. You can't do the same thing and expect a different result. So in this video, I'm going to break down how to actually make a change stemming with consistency and discipline, because you can have your little ChatGPT meal plan and a little online training PDF. None of that matters if you can't stick to it and actually apply it on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So let's get right into it. I put these two photos in the board just to kind of show you where I was at physically and mentally before I started actually taking care of myself and understanding what I wanted for myself. And then after, I wouldn't say this is like the end, because I'm always progressing, but clear difference here. So this version of myself, this was in 2024. And the first main problem is that I did not have a clear goal. Like, I didn't really map out what I wanted for myself physically, mentally, lifestyle wise. I was just going about the motions, and I knew I had issues, especially physically. Like, I did not like the way I looked with that midsection fat, but I never set out to achieve it with precision. It was kind of just, I want to get in shape. I want to get jacked. What does that look like? How much weight are you losing? What physique are you trying to emulate? You have to be specific. You cannot be driving somewhere blind with the GPS off, right? It doesn't make any sense, right? You have to reverse engineer it. You want to get to point B. Well, what steps is it going to take to get you from point A to that end result? You see what I'm saying? So setting a clear goal is very important. I also talk about this in the fat loss video. This is like step one for everything. You got to set intention, set a goal. Next up, I trained when it was convenient, and I ate what tasted good in the moment. And what do these have in common? Just giving into immediate comfort, right? Just saying, oh, I don't feel like doing this, so I'm not going to do it. Oh, I feel like having a bunch of wings and a milkshake, so I'm going to have it, right? Just going with the flow. Just, I'm with the wind, bro. I'm doing whatever. No sort of guideline, no sort of rigidity. You see, no sort of structure. I'm just going off emotion and my desire for pleasure and comfort. And clearly my physique reflected that, okay? So you cannot make a change and maintain the same inputs of just like, I'll do this whenever, I'll do this when I want to, I'll do this later, I'll eat this right now. No. You cannot have those same habits, and you cannot have that same mindset if you want to be in a structured, dialed body and mind. Next up, this is very overlooked, but I used social media to create a false sense of my lifestyle, which created motivational highs. And I'm sure you've seen this on your phone, like the B-roll and the tan jack dudes with the girl in the car or whatever. It's like, it looks like a sick lifestyle. But the issue with that is you start to think that's
that's your life, right? Because it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like, oh, this is going to be me, like blah, blah, blah. I'm almost there. This is sick. This is what I want my life to look like. Brother, look in the mirror. Like, this is not you at all, and you are nowhere close. And the issue with consuming that type of content is that you're creating this false reality of what you think your life looks like, and you're just ignoring what's actually in front of you. So you cannot be like, you cannot be a victim to this mental masturbation of like, oh yeah, this is so cool, the Porsche and the old money, and like the people who just love that type of content usually don't have that lifestyle, and it's for a reason. Next up, and I highlighted this because it's probably the most important within the transformation journey, I reinforced the idea that I could not achieve more. And this held me back so much. It was such a mental barrier for me because I seriously separated myself from the guys who had the physique and they had everything that I wanted. I separated myself to the point where I like told myself that it wasn't possible. It wasn't in the realm of possibilities. And by telling myself that it was not in the realm of possibility, I did not take action to make it a possibility. Like, why would you work towards something that you don't even believe is possible? It doesn't make any sense. So I continued to reinforce the idea that the midsection fat and the love handles and the back fat was just always going to be with me. It was just a part of my identity, which made me never take incentive to change, right? I'm not going to change something that I don't think can be changed. So that was a huge mindset barrier for me that I had to break down if I wanted to elevate, and I eventually did. Lastly, I stopped progressing when I saw slight progress. So every time I would hit a new low in terms of just like mental standpoint, physique wise, like I'd just be in the gutter. I'd be down bad. I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna lock in, right? I lock in for a little bit, lose some water weight, tighten up the face a little bit, and then boom, I would stop, right? Because again, that instant gratification, I'd be like, oh, I'm seeing progress. I'm good now. Let me chill. That's not how it works. Because it took, it was a very short period of time to get those results, I can also lose those results in a very short period of time. And that's what happened. And that's what perpetuated this cycle of locking in and falling off, locking in and falling off. You cannot see some progress and be like, oh, I'm good, I did it. No. This takes a long time if you want to make a lifestyle change, right? Just like losing some water weight isn't going to do anything for you. But if you let it mess with your head and tell you that you're chilling, you're just going to fall right back to square one, square zero, whatever it is. So that was me back then. Now, currently, recently, this is where I'm at now, mentally, physically. I had a specific vision for my body and my life. Specific. I wanted to lose that midsection fat. I wanted to tighten up my face, right? I wanted to look like someone who hits the gym. I didn't want to just be that guy that's like, oh yeah, he's big, right? You've heard it so many times. Oh yeah, he's big. Like, that's a big dude, right? No, I wanted to be jacked. I wanted to be lean. I wanted to be confident. I wanted to be athletic. I had a vision for what that version of me looked like and felt like, okay? I was waking up. I was feeling tight. I was feeling dry. I was feeling sharp. I was feeling on point. I wasn't feeling sloppy. I was feeling in control. That was my biggest thing. I did not feel in control in this body and mindset. Look, you could just kind of just see it in my face. Like, I look like sad. I look like disappointed at myself, right? I had a vision for my body and life, the confidence, the physique, the mindset, everything I wanted to envision. And that allowed me to roadmap my path to get there. What else does this person do? Trains daily and eats in accordance with that goal of a leaner, more confident person, right? So I'm in the gym every single day, not because I have to, but because it keeps my mind sharp, right? I want to go on the days that I don't feel like going. I'm sharpening my mind. I'm eating in accordance with my goal. At this time when I was getting really lean, the goal was fat loss. So how am I eating in accordance with fat loss? I'm eating the meals that I have planned out with the certain macro profiles that are going to drive fat loss in a calorie deficit, right? I'm not just eating what I want when I want. No, I have a plan, and every single input is leading me towards that end goal. What's next? No social media fanboy stuff, bro. Like, I realize that this is my life. This is my life. What's in front of me is my life, and it's up to me to craft that. I'm not going to let this thing tell me how to live or like what I should look like or what my life could look like and just start to fantasize about other influencers and how they're living. No, bro, that's like weird, low key. That's weird. That's why I don't buy into any of that influencer stuff, dude. It's like, look at you in the mirror. That's all you have. You are not them. Why would you want to be someone else? Sure, you can want to achieve results that somebody else achieved, like a physique, whatever. But in terms of living vicariously through the internet and through someone else, I just think it's kind of weak, take control of your life and realize that you can make it happen and you can create a life that is so fulfilling that you don't need to rely on all that social media influencer stuff to make you feel like you're a part of a community and that you're like supporting someone. No, be your own person, bro. Focus on your own journey. Next, I was relentless with finding my potential. That's a huge difference from this, reinforcing the idea that I cannot achieve more. I was relentless with seeing how far I could push it and what limits I could break. Because again, I had those limiting beliefs of the midsection fat. What did I do? I lost it. I wanted to see my potential. I wanted to get really lean and prove to myself that I was not a victim to any sort of barrier. And that's exactly what I did. And this really helped me mentally because I set a new standard for myself in terms of what's possible. And then lastly, this person understands that results are temporary if you don't nurture them. It's literally like anything. It's like a plant. It's like this, bro. You see this plant? It's like a plant. If I don't water this thing, or I think my girlfriend told me I put 2 ice cubes in it a week. If I don't do that, it's going to die. The exact same thing with the physique, bro. If you just achieve this look and then you go back to these old habits, you're going to fall off. Right? Your body is very good at adjusting to your current habits. If you're just eating slop and you're not training, you're going to revert right back to the old you. You have to take care of this. Your body is like a well-oiled machine, bro. You got to be eating right, sleeping right, training right, all that stuff. You cannot take anything for granted. So I had to put in the work to stay consistent to get the results and then also stay consistent to maintain the results because that's what matters. Ooh, okay, so what do both of these have in common, or what are they, what are they about? Identity, right? Identity. This is what it's about. Your identity, physically, mentally, habit-wise, all of that. So I broke up some questions under identity to talk about how you can sort of like formulate that idea, that ultimate version of yourself. Like some questions to think about. What does this ultimate version of you look like? Physically, habit-wise, like what do they look like? What does their life look like? Are they lean? Are they punctual? Are they on time? Are they respectful? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how are you showing up as an ultimate version of yourself? Are you on your stuff? Are you like getting up, getting out of bed when your alarm goes off? Are you drinking water? Are you avoiding bad habits? Like, what does this person do? How does their life look like? How does their physique look? That's your North Star. That's what you're trying to emulate, right? Then we go into some more questions. Do they fall off or like miss days, eat off plan, fall off with the cardio? Do they just have them habits and then just die? No, they're consistent. It goes back to this, nurturing their results. So do they eat off plan, bro? Are they eating slop when they're supposed to eat the meal prep? No, they don't, right? Next up, how do they respond to temptation? You're in your bed, it's January, it's raining, it's freezing, it's dark, and your alarm goes off and it's time to do cardio. You don't feel like doing cardio. What's very tempting? That warm bed, bro. Trust me, I've been there. That is very tempting. So what does this person do? Bro, they hit snooze and they're sleeping and they're skipping the session. What does this person do? They're getting up because they don't feel like it. They're putting their clothes on and they're going to do their cardio. How do you respond when you're in the office and people are bringing you cookies and cakes and treats and, oh, we're just celebrating freaking Wednesday. We're just celebrating Wednesday. So here are some cookies, right? What is this person? Oh, yeah, it's Wednesday. Let's go eat some cookies because everybody else is eating cookies. This person's like, no, well, why would I just shove cookies in my face and go sit at my desk? It's Wednesday at 2 p.m. No, I like this look. I like how I feel. I'm not gonna veer off track just because something's convenient and it's tempting. Everything's tempting. You have to resist the temptation in order to hold a physique that looks like it resists temptation, if that makes sense. If you constantly give in, you're going to look like you constantly give in. Lastly, how is that transformed version of you perceived by others? Are they confident? Are they capable? Are they in shape? Are they disciplined, right? Because, you take care of your habits for yourself, obviously, but eventually you want to reach a point where others can look at you and there's this external presence that you have of like, this dude's on his stuff, bro. Like, you want your habits to be so dialed that you're doing your own thing and other people can come up to you and be like, wow, like, what's your split? What's your diet? What did you do? How did you haven't even told them a single thing, right? How is this person perceived by others? Are you respected? Are you somebody that gets pushed around easily? No, you're not. You're confident, you're strong, you're in control of your habits, and you're disciplined, and other people sense that energy. So boom, identity has been set. Where do you want to get to versus where you're at now? This is extremely important. Again, this is your North Star. I brought up this analogy of a plane making a trip. So we're going from JFK and we are going to LAX. And this sort of represents how discipline and consistency works, right? So to the plane analogy, the plane lands on time, from thousands of small corrections, not a perfect line, right? Discipline is not being perfect 24/7, right? It's catching the drift early and then correcting it fast, right? But the further you go off track, the longer it will take to correct and the longer it will take to see results, because we're all human, right? It is inevitable that there's going to be one day at least during your diet where you don't hit your calories, you don't track your macros, whatever. We're human. It's okay as long as you can correct that and get back on track and don't let it compound, right? Because if you're on a flight, this pilot keeps veering off, bro. Now a 6-hour flight just turned into a 10-hour flight, because at this point they veer off. Now you got to get back on track. You're here. Now you veer off. You got to get back on track. You're here. You veer off. You see what I'm saying? You're just adding time to the process. So it's normal to have these small, deviations, but then you just make small corrections and you get right back on track. That's normal within any sort of process, as long as you are proactive and conscious about it, right? And you're not just letting yourself go for 3 weeks and you're like, oh, I'm going to lock back in, because that's how you fall into the cycle. So how do we get to this ultimate version of ourselves? Well, it really starts with 3 main steps. Number 1, most importantly, daily action, comprised of needle movers, not just action, right? It's not, oh, I ate healthy. Well, did you track your calories? Like, okay, you ate healthy, but what if it was 4,000 calories of healthy food, right? We need to be taking action with the right things that are going to move the needle, right? Daily action is what drives results. This is, if I could just have one thing on here, it would be daily action. You have to take action. That's the only place you're going to get to that end result, to put in the work. You already know this, right? Next up, emotional detachment from the process. This is going to suck, bro. If you want to lock in and you want to be consistent, it's going to suck. Like, again, that example of getting up and doing cardio when it's wintertime and it's cold, of course that sucks, dude. Or like, you have to order a chicken breast and some rice while all your friends are ordering pizza and fried chicken sandwiches. Like, yeah, that sucks, bro. But it's normal, right? And you can't just give in to that emotion of, oh, I'm so like, I'm so tired, I'm so hungry, I'm so fatigued, I'm so this, I'm so that. It's like, if you just give in to that, again, you're going with the wind. You're just acting based off how you feel. And that's how you get nowhere, right? This version of yourself does not act based on how they feel. They act on what they know they should be doing. So you have to detach yourself emotionally from the process, because it will suck. Next up, you got to understand the binary nature of success. You either achieve that end result or you don't, by taking daily action or not taking daily action, right? It's binary. You either do something or you don't. You either track your calories or you don't. You either do your cardio or you don't. And if you keep doing the wrong things, you're going to get the wrong result. This should just be obvious, right? So I broke this up into a diagram to kind of give you a framework, a reference for what this path looks like. So this is you right now. This is where you want to go. This is a map of your inputs, right? So let's say you do everything right. So I just put up like 5 main core principles for, getting in shape. Is pretty general, not to be taken too literally. This is like a fat loss blueprint. I have other YouTube videos on that, but in terms of habits, eat your meal prep, track your calories, do your cardio, avoid alcohol, follow the training plan. Look how easy it would be if you just followed all these steps, right? You just get to that end result on a linear path. Eat your meal prep, blah, 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 boom, you're there. Now you're going to fall off. That's totally cool. So when you do fall off and you don't track your calories, you have to get back on track. Again, normal. However, what's important to note is this little clock symbol, because the amount of time that it takes to get back on track will contribute to the overall time that it will take to get from point A to point B. And if you keep falling off across all these different checkpoints, you keep adding time, bro, you are going to be stuck for a long time, and you're going to feel like the process is not working, when in reality, your inputs are just not aligned, right? So you have options. Again, it's binary. You either eat your meal prep or you eat like crap. You either track your calories or you don't track the calories. Do your cardio or you don't do your cardio. So if you do fall off track, you better get back on track quick. That's how you get to that end result. You have to think about it like this. Every time that you don't want to be consistent, you don't want to be disciplined, you're spending time down here. And you're just accumulating time on the clock down here, doing the wrong things. And this version of you is just waiting patiently. You're just adding up time. So keep this in mind, right? If you can just follow this top level plan accordingly, you will be golden. And if you can minimize the downtime that you spend not making progress, you will be okay. But again, you have to minimize it and get back on track as fast as possible. Now, I highlighted these 2 like fall off buckets because they are the most common. It's with the diet, right? With transforming your physique, what I see most frequently is people just can't follow the diet. They eat off track. They eat above their calories. They eat the wrong things. So within all these habits, I would say these are the most significant, and I want to elaborate on them on how to avoid succumbing to these negative traps. So this is probably the most sauce that I will drop within this video. It's right here. The voluntary aspect of diet discipline, because a lot of people just can't stay on track with the diet. And they're like, oh, I have to do this with the diet. Oh, I have to eat healthy. I have to do this. Reframe it to a voluntary process, right? How about this? You have 4 meals here. Why don't you just eat this every day? Why don't you have 2 double doubles, some Dave's hot chicken, some mac and cheese, some pizza, and some Yogurtland every single day? Do it. No one's stopping you. Oh, but wait, but I want to lose fat. Exactly. You have a priority in mind. You got to realize no one is making you eat like this. No one is making you eat the ground beef and rice, the steak and the veggies. Nobody is making you eat like this, right? You could totally eat like this if you want. Matter of fact, do it. Why don't you eat Dave's mac and cheese, 10,000 calories of it every single day? Matter of fact, throw it on the pizza and make a sandwich, right? And then for good measure, throw the Yogurtland bowl on top. Just do that every single day, right? Nobody is stopping you. But the reason why it feels so difficult to do this stuff, and the reason why you crave this, is because you treat it as like this forbidden fruit, right? The forbidden fruit mentality is keeping you in a scarcity mindset. Oh, I can't do this. I can't have this. Nobody is stopping you. You have to take control of the diet. You cannot be a victim, right? I wrote this down here. You choose to follow the plan because you prioritize results more than you prioritize instant gratification. You are not forced to eat healthy or track your calories or do anything in this. You are not forced to do anything, but you want to do this stuff, and you want to do this stuff because you want to get here. That is how this works. This is all voluntary. You have to reframe it to from being a victim of the diet to being someone that's in control and taking proactive measures to get to where you want to be. And if you give yourself the option to eat this stuff, and you give yourself the option to slack off, you will realize you don't actually want to do it, right? But you've just been conditioned into thinking, I have to follow the MyFitnessPal and I have to do XYZ. I have to. Someone just like, I don't know, someone's just forcing you to do this. No, this is you, bro. This is all you. This is your decision. Like, you can do whatever you want, but it sounds like you want to change, right? And how do you change? You do this stuff. You do the boring stuff. That's not fun. So this is huge. This is really crucial. You have to give yourself the freedom to do whatever you want. And it sounds very counterintuitive. Like, why would I allow myself to eat pizza? And why would I allow myself to eat this and that? Because you will then realize your greater reason to stay on track. You know, you just flip the perspective. It's very hard to articulate, but once you kind of chill out and you remove that scarcity mindset of not being able to eat certain things, you realize you don't even want to do it. The only reason you want to do it is because you deemed it as scarce and you deemed it as something that you can't do. And you will ultimately realize that you want this end result, and you're going to center yourself in that discipline and ground yourself and be like, you know what? Like, yeah, I could get pizza, but I could also eat my cod and my rice and my veggies because I want to lose fat. And I'm going to do the latter because that's more important at this moment. So if you could take away anything within diet discipline, it's understanding the voluntary mindset. And this personally has changed my life. Like, this is what I needed because I just felt like a slave to the diet and a slave to MyFitnessPal. Once I reframed it to me actively choosing to do certain things for a certain result, it just became a lot easier, right? It's crazy how it works. It really is crazy how it works. So some closing thoughts. Every single decision that you make will either push you forward or set you back. Again, you will have setbacks, but it's up to you to make decisions after that to push you forward. And also, these inputs, you know, the diet, the cardio, the training, don't hold individual value. It is the compounding effect of those inputs which creates value and results. The more days you can stack, the quicker results you will see. So it's not really an accomplishment to eat healthy for one meal or do your cardio for one session. These inputs don't have anything at face value. The compounding effect of these inputs, that's what we're going after, right? It's not like, woohoo, I was locked in for one day. Okay, but were you locked in for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks? That's what we're celebrating. We're not celebrating day by day small wins. Again, they're wins, but in the sense of like a compounding effect. And it's the same thing in either direction. You know, if you eat off plan for one day, likely not going to do much. But if you eat off plan for multiple days, which turns into weeks, you are going to lose progress. Again, if you eat on track with your macros and your calories for one day, you're not going to lose a crap ton of fat. You're going to lose a very small bit of fat. But if you can do that for multiple days, Now that's compounded into 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds. You see what I'm saying? It's a big picture thing. Stack days, which turn to weeks, which turn to months. If this sounds relevant to your journey, but you struggle to implement these specific frameworks into your life, reach out to me on Instagram. Let's have a conversation. I do one-on-one coaching for guys who need this type of transformation, right? Taking you from a state of confusion and being lost and being sloppy to a version of yourself where you are confident and in control, and also still have flexibility and freedom to do things like this, because these are all photos from the last couple of months. Because I don't play by my food. I love good food, but again, it starts with this. It's the foundation. So I appreciate you watching. Reach out to me on Instagram if you have any questions or if you're interested in one-on-one coaching, and I will catch you in the next one.